Hey there, laser makers. How are you today? This is Jim with another tutorial on a project that I was asked if I could do a spiral board or spiral design, and I had to think about this one, but I did figure out how to do it, and I wanted to share that process with you because it's not exactly it's not difficult, but it is also it's a little tedious. But I'm going to show you how to do that so that you can start integrating this into your designs or whatever you might want to do that might include a spiral. For this project, I'm going to make a spiral track that is I don't know about maybe 3 centimeters wide, so we'll give that a go and start from there. So in LightBurn, the way we're going to do this is we're going to start with the circle tool. So we're going to create a whole bunch of circles. So we're going to create some circles, and you want to make sure that you're holding shift when you make these circles because you want them to be actual circles and not like ovals or other shapes. So we're going to create the first one. We're going to set the size. I want the inside of my track to be, let's say, I want it to be 5 centimeters. So we're going to do 500. So 500 millimeters. Is that right? Yeah. Nope. That's probably 50 centimeters. Let's try let's try 50. There we go. All right. So we have a circle that's 50 centimeters, sorry, 50 millimeters across. We are going to duplicate this, and each one we are going to go, we're going to increase the size by the width of the track that we want to make. So we're going to duplicate, that's Control D to just duplicate that, and we're going to make this one 55. Is that right? Yeah, 55? No, that's not right. 5 centimeters. Let's make it, we want to go 60, 50, 60, 70, 65. There we go. That's 1.5 centimeters larger than the previous circle. Yeah, we'll work with this. We'll see what we come out with for a track width. I may need to actually double this, but we'll start here and see how this goes. So we're going to duplicate each. We're going to continue duplicating and increasing by 15 each time. So we're going to duplicate. We're going to hit plus 15. And duplicate. Plus 15. And duplicate. Plus 15. Duplicate. Plus 15. Duplicate. Plus 15. You see a pattern here. So we're going to do this a bunch of times. The nice thing about this is you can resize after you're done making your initial spiral. If you save this in your art library, you can use this for other things. You can resize it, all that good jazz. All right, so, and it doesn't really matter how many you make. If you have a specific number of tracks you want to go around in your spiral, you're going to have to make that number of circles, like the number of times you want to go around the spiral, you'll have to make that number of circles times 4, and you'll see why here in just a second. So we're going to start with the middle circle. So after we've created all these circles, we need to select all of them. So we're just going to select them all, and we're going to right click, and we're going to convert these all to a path. The convert to path is important because without this, you're not going to be able to use the node editor, which is something that we're going to need to do in a later step. So we're going to start with the middle circle here. We're going to select this guy, and we're going to select the next circle in order, and we're going to align these. So we're going to align each circle to the previous circle. So we're going to take this circle, we're going to align it to the middle circle, and we're going to start somewhere. It doesn't really matter where you start. We can either do the first alignment. I like to start on the right and go clockwise. So we're going to make the first alignment to the right. So I'm going to hit R, which is going to move the circles kind of off center. The next one, we're going to move out to the next circle, and we're going to click the next circle and then hold Control and click the circle we just moved. The way I like to do it is, so we can do two alignments. I personally move the circle so it's concentric. Yeah, let's back up a little bit. This will make it a little bit easier to work with. So let's, now that we have all these circles, let's move our middle one out to the side so that we're only working with one at a time. It'll be a lot easier to follow along that way. So we're going to take our second circle, we're going to move it out on concentrically around the first, and then we're going to select the first one, we're going to align to the right. Now the third circle, we're going to continue this process. We're going to align, we're going to concentrically around the second circle. Make sure you're not around the first circle like this. So we need to always be concentric with the circle we previously placed. So we're going to set it here, and then we're going to hold Control and select that the circle that's inside there. And we're going to align, so if the first one was to the right, the next one we're going to center to the, or align to the bottom. So you hit B, which aligns to the bottom, and we're going to continue this process, working our way around each circle. So Control, and then we're going to align to the left. Control, sit here. Control, align to the top. And you can continue doing this, through as many circles as you've made. Once you get to back to the beginning, you're just going to continue that pattern, like right, bottom, right, bottom, left, top, right, bottom, left, top. This one. Left, top. And the last one we'll do here to the right. Okay, so I know it's starting to look a little bit like a mess, but it'll all start coming together here pretty quickly. So the next thing we need to do is we need to remove, so we actually have our spiral kind of hidden in here. So what we need to do is we actually need to remove a bunch of extra lines. So I usually work my way, you can work your way from the inside out or from the outside in. It doesn't really matter which, but you're going to start with either circle that you can kind of place. It's either has to be the outside circle or the inside circle so that you can see where you started. So I'm going to start with the inside circle here, and I'm going to delete the 3 segments that are not part of my spiral. If you can see it, so the spot it's connected to here is on the right. So we're going to delete this guy here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the node editor, and we're going to select our objects. This is why we needed to switch these all to paths, so we can use the node editor. So we're going to use the node editor. We're going to hover over the line here. We're going to hit D to delete. Delete this one, this one. If the first connection we made was on the right, the starting point of our spiral is on the top. So now that we have this piece of arc, we're going to select the next circle, and you can kind of go, I find it's easier to kind of go forwards for one and then backwards for the next one. So we have the first one. Now this piece is the piece we're going to delete. So we're going to hover over this line, delete, 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 it's always going to be 3 deletes. You're going to keep one piece and delete the other 3. So we're going to keep this first one. We're going to delete this one, and this one. We'll move out to the next circle. We're going to keep this piece, delete these 3. Next circle, we're going to keep this top right corner and delete the other 3. Now we're going to keep the bottom right corner. We're going to delete the other 3. Oops, I think I selected the wrong circle here. Yep, so selected the wrong circle. So we're going to keep the bottom right corner here. We're going to delete these other 3. Now we're ready to move out to that next circle. We're going to keep the bottom left, delete these 3. All right, so there we have it. So we have our initial spiral, and here's what I like to do with this. Now that we have this created, as I said, you can create this as long as you want, with as many circles as you want, and then you can resize it later. So I like to select all of this line and then join it, and that's using Alt-J. We're going to Alt-J. It's going to make it all one piece. So it's now a single line. And for the project I'm working on, as I said, I need to make a track that's 3 centimeters wide. So I'm going to move this onto a tool layer. So I'm going to move it on a T2 because it's not really important what layer I have it on, or I can keep it on the cut layer until after I do this process, and then move the inside line to the tool layer. So I'm going to use the outline tool, and I'm going to create an offset of 1.5, 10, 15, so 15, 1.5 centimeters, which is a little bit too much. So my, because I used exactly the right offset, it's putting the edge of the outline like right on, stacked on top of each other. So I'm just going to make it slightly smaller. So I'm going to say 14.9, which will give me just a really thin cut line. I could make a little space there if I wanted like a little space of a line there. So actually I'll do that. I'll do 1.45 centimeters from the center line of the track to the outside edge of the track. So that'll give me, 1.9, twice that for the total width of the track. You can use a corner if you want to use a corner. It depends what you want to do here. So like for my project, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to leave it as a round, but again, you could use like a corner if you wanted straight ends on it, or round. Typically, you only need to do an outward. Both is not going to do much of anything. So inward is not going to work because it's not it's not a closed shape. It's just a line. So so you want to use an outward offset, and we're going to not delete the original objects because we want to keep that spiral line as part of this project. Once we've created our offset, we're going to go back and select our spiral. We're going to move this guy over to a tool layer. So for my project, I need to actually cut a bunch of holes along this line, and I want them sequentially spaced evenly. So we're going to move on to that, even though I've kind of completed the description of how we create a spiral. I want to show you kind of as a freebie how we can create a template for either drilling holes or whatever if we want. So we want like a template that we can evenly distribute a set of holes along here. So we're going to do that now. For this, we're going to work on the T2 layer. Whoops. We're going to unselect that, switch to the tool 2 layer to tool 1 layer, and we're just going to start from the center here, wherever I can find it. So we're going to create a circle around this thing. It doesn't really matter where the circle is, but it does need to start. It does need to start from the center of your spiral. So we're going to start here, and I'm just using Shift and Control. Shift constrains it to a circle, and Control tells it to draw from the center. So we're just going to make a circle that's larger than our pattern. It doesn't matter how much larger. In fact, later we'll probably make it much bigger and save it as a template in our art library, because this will be a useful template for you to have later. So we're going to make this circle. We're going to create a line. We're going to make sure we create a line. So we're going to hover over our circle, and we're going to wait until we see that circle with a cross on it. That means you're going to be starting at the center point of the top of the circle. So we're going to draw a line down, and we're going to go down until we get the center point down here on the other side. Oops. So we're just going to click once at the top, click again at the bottom. We're then going to hit Escape to stop drawing. And we're going to do the same thing in the other direction. Click once here, click once over here. Oops. Did not make it all the way to the circle. We'll try that again. Once here, once here. Escape to get out of that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take all these lines. So we're going to take the inside lines and the circle. Actually, the circle's not so important anymore, but we'll go ahead and keep it. No, we'll take just the lines. So we're going to skip the circle. We're going to take the two lines. We're going to group those, and we're going to duplicate them. The circle's purpose was to make sure that all the lines are the same length, because if they're not the same length, when we do this next part, it will not align properly. So now that you have the line selected, we're going to duplicate the lines, and we're going to rotate this. When we rotate it, though, we're going to hold Shift. What Shift does, it constrains it to specific intervals. So we're going to rotate it until we get to a 45-degree interval, and then we're going to duplicate that. We're going to rotate it again, holding Shift. The Shift in between gives us some additional intervals, so it gives you 3 intervals per 45-degree section. We're going to create that. We're going to duplicate it again. We're just going to continue this process, holding Shift each time we rotate. So we duplicate it with Control D. We hold Shift and rotate. And so now we have a kind of a template that gives us alignment marks along of our spiral so that we can set up different things. Now we can also align this, instead of using Shift, you can use Control, which gives you different increments. I don't remember exactly how it works. I'd have to look into LightBurn, but I believe that Control gives you 10-degree increments, and Shift gives you increments. Shift gives you the 45s and every third increment. So if you know the exact answer here, go ahead and shoot me a comment down below, and we'll get that in the next video. But for now, I'll just I'll leave it at Control and Shift do different things depending on what you're trying to accomplish. You may want to use one or the other. For this purpose, I'm going to so I used Shift to make the major sections, and I'm duplicating and doing it again to get the in-between sections. So for these ones, I'm holding Control when I move these. Okay. And there we go. One more. There. So now we have a pattern that's our template for our entire layout. What we're going to do is we're going to take the entire orange layer, the entire tool layer. So you can select everything on that layer by holding Shift and clicking on the layer over here on the right. That'll select the entire layer. We're going to join this, Alt-J, makes it all one shape, or it should. So we're just going to group it. I think it has to be a continuous line to make it a single shape, so we're just going to make it a group. So now if you click on it, it selects the whole thing. If you can see that. Now I recommend saving this to your art library. I already have one in here under templates, and I call it a radial layout template, but you can save it for whatever you want. So if you're not using the art library, or if you don't have the art library available, it's up here in Window and Art Library. To turn that on, and you have to create a new art library. So you can create an art library called Templates, and just basically select the item that you want to do, and you say Import Graphic from Project, and what it will do is it'll save it over here in your art library, and you can use that later. So like later on, if you were doing a project and you wanted a radial layout, you can drag this guy out and stick it in your project and use that again. So I hope this gives you some great ideas. I'd love to see if you have projects that you've made using spirals and or radial layouts. Let me know in the comments. I'd really love to see them, and if you get stuck, just let me know and we'll see what we can do to help you out.